So the ability to hire folks outside the US, outsourcing, has 10x to my business. In fact, one of my most popular webinars is stored on Multifamily University. All of our content is free, so it's available. That people use the most is a set of demos. So it's about 30 demos of how we have incorporated a Philippines-based workforce into our workflow. I've always believed that you've got to have Americans leading. But what we've been able to do is we've been able to accelerate the work of those Americans, their productivity, by attaching Filipinos to them. And we don't use them as traditional virtual assistants, which is, you go to a website, you publish something, and they work on it, they give you the result. It's not like that. All of our Filipinos are full-time employees. They get Philippines holidays for free. They have their own managers. They have their own directors. They have their own summits in Manila where everybody flies in. We basically set up a parallel company in the Philippines, and we tell them, look, we are your service providers, and we want your service. We actually don't want to deal with the hassle of managing you, so you've got your own managers and directors, your own recruiters. We need service. And what this allows me to do is to take the American workforce that I have, attach these people to them and say, now I need 2x, 3x, 4x more productivity, and you can give it to me, because what you're really doing is everyone's becoming sort of a quasi-project manager instead of doing all of these things. It also applies for the data gathering. Can you imagine how difficult it is to gather data on every city in the United States and do it every single month for the last decade? It's very problematic. I don't think I could have done it without the remote workforce. And they're amazing people. They're fantastic people. I have amazing trust in them. Some of them have access to my bank accounts and my social security number because I've worked with them for a decade. The world has changed, and this is happening every day. Microsoft has 20,000 employees in Bangalore, right? Apple is now building every fifth or every sixth iPhone in Bangalore. So it's happening all around you. People are taking advantage of it. And one of my fundamental beliefs is that businesses where 100% of their workforce is American are simply not going to exist within the next 10 or 20 years because they're at such a catastrophic disadvantage that they become, unviable. And so the truth is, and we're not quite there yet, but we're getting rapidly to a point where a worldwide workforce may be the only alternatives for most kinds of businesses. Why would it make sense to somebody looking into, creating a database company and looking at it globally? Firstly, cost. Second, velocity. I think velocity more importantly than cost. I think that cost can be, taken care of these days through my friend ChatGPT. But I think velocity is key. There's just so many things that you can get done. So one of the things that I like to do is when I have an idea, I will go onto a computer and turn on an app called Loom. And Loom allows me to simultaneously record my video, my voice, and also what's on the screen. And then I'll just talk for 10 or 15 minutes. There's a lot of people who can't get anything done because it's stuff in their head and they want to get it out. And I do it in a very unstructured way. I'm not trying to structure my thoughts at all. I'm just speaking to a computer and using Excel spreadsheets and saying, I want to see an Excel spreadsheet. I want to see this. I want to see that. I want this column and this row. And I'm just saying it as a stream of consciousness process. So in 15 minutes, I've gotten not just an idea out, but I've gotten hundreds of pieces of information about that idea out. And then that goes to a person in the Philippines, a senior person, who then takes it, builds something from it, gives it to ChatGPT, turns that into a project, edits it, sends it back to me. Maybe 2 hours later, I take another look, do some minor edits, and then it goes back to that project manager who then turns it into hundreds of tasks. All of this has happened in 2 or 3 hours. So I've gone from idea to thinking about the details of that idea to having an entire project with hundreds of tasks built within hours. This is the world as it exists today. And if you, even if you're starting out, are not going in that direction, then you don't have that velocity. Then you don't have that reach. And that's a disadvantage. The data becomes very polluted if a large employer either opens up in a city or a large employer shuts down and lays off a large number of people. Because jobs are fundamentally key to real estate success, to making profits in real estate. You have to track jobs. You have to track quality and quantity of jobs. And the data over a month and even over 3 months is heavily polluted by what one employer might do. Same thing happens for governments. So governments go in and, if it's a city that has a large number of soldiers because there's an army base, well, all of a sudden they deploy and those soldiers are gone. Well, that's going to change your data. So what I find is I use monthly data to tell me, oh yeah, I saw Northwest Arkansas last month as well. So I use it to start building a pattern. But then I need to so I look at the 1 month data just so what's new, right? What new cities are going up the chart? What are coming down the chart? And then I look at the 3 month data to see if those cities are consistent. And now I know what cities to avoid because it was a flash in the pan, it appeared, now it just disappeared. And then I start looking at the 9 month data to understand how the city is doing. So, look at the Billboard charts, right? So you got the Billboard Top 100, right? And if you want to know how good an artist is, you want to see things like, is Taylor Swift, not just at the top, but what was her journey from the day that she released her single? How long did that take to go up from 60 to 50 to 40? That velocity, the speed at which a city goes up, just like a singer's song going up, tells me a lot about what's happening in that city, right? How extraordinary a city is. So I'm not just interested in looking at the cities at the top. I'm interested in looking at what their journey has been from, 200 ranked city to 100 to 50. And so what we do is we call this momentum stats. This is a lot of stock people who do stocks would really resonate, right? There's two ways of investing in stock, right? The Warren Buffett way, which is a traditional fashion. You buy stocks when they're cheap, right, for solid companies, and you wait until they go up and you don't really care how long it takes. And then there's momentum investing, where people often will buy a stock, not necessarily because it's the best stock, but it's because a million people think it's a good stock right now and it's got momentum. Now, to be successful in real estate, and this is something that I don't like about real estate, what I've learned over time is I can't just do the Warren Buffett thing and say, I'm going to invest in good cities. I actually have to pay attention to other people's emotions. So can you imagine, I'm a guy that's trying to squeeze emotion out of everything, and I realize that if I do that, I'm not going to be successful. So I actually have to allocate a portion of what I'm doing for other people's emotion. We call that momentum stats. So we don't just look at how a city is doing in terms of jobs and home price growth and population and income. We also look at how people there feel about what is going to happen in real estate. And that momentum is equally important because momentum can drive a city up independent of everything else that's going on there. So we're tracking fundamentals, which is the Warren Buffett method, and then we're tracking momentum, which is the day trader method. And the combination of those tells us exactly when to start buying in that city. Because I want to buy roughly 24 months before everyone in the world knows that this is an incredible city to invest in.